Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Vroom 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 travel blog. And as always, we're here with another wonderful travel blogger. This time we have a very special guest with us, all the way from Europe and the country of Belgium. We have Sofie from wonderfulwanderings.com. That's a bit of a tongue twister for me, but I'm going to try to say it right every time. Hi, Sofie. How are you today?
Hi everyone, I'm fine, thank you.
It's awesome to have you with us, and we'd like you to introduce yourself a little bit, as well as to tell us where our readers, our blog readers, as well as our YouTube viewers can find you on the internet.
Yeah, so I'm Sophie. My native language is actually Dutch, and in Dutch we say Sophie and not Sophie, like in English. You can say Sophie, that's fine. So I started travel blogging about 3 years ago. I have done it on the side next to my main job for about 2.5 years before I quit my job to travel. You can read all about my blog on wonderfulwanderings.com, as you mentioned. That's where you can find me, and that's also where you can find the links to all my social media channels for those of you who are active on Twitter, on Facebook, on Pinterest, and so on.
Very cool. Yes, and as an American myself, I'm not very familiar with Belgium, but I do really enjoy your blog and your writings, and I've taken a lot of time to review some of them. I think it's very interesting to me that as an American, and probably for a lot of people who are not from Belgium, they think of your country as beer, chocolate. What are some of the other things that people should know about your country, and what are some of the best parts of it?
Yeah, those are the typical things that everybody knows, the good food and the good drinks. Those are very important. We are very much a food nation. We love to eat and drink. Going out to dinner really is an evening activity for us. We won't do anything afterwards. We'll just stay in the restaurant until midnight. But apart from that, I think Belgium is very interesting for everybody who loves art and history, especially history. It's a country with a rich history, even though the country Belgium itself isn't that old yet. We have castles, abbeys that are centuries old. We have, of course, a lot of sites that are linked to the two world wars that you can still visit today. We have a lot of museums that really investigate that war history and that are not just historical but often also very interactive and very socially integrated, let's say, that look at how these wars have affected the country as well. Besides that, we have quite a bit of art history as well. We have tons of art museums, great architecture. I'm sure some people must have heard from Victor Horta, who was a big member of the Art Nouveau movement. And so, yeah, lots of art, lots of history. What you shouldn't come to Belgium for is a sunny beach vacation. You might get that, but I wouldn't put my hopes on it.
That's funny. Yes, and I love the museums. I love World War II museums. That sounds wonderful to me. You yourself have traveled to a lot of different countries around the world as well. You've been to England and you've been to the United States and to Canada, I believe.
Yes.
Probably other places that I'm not even listing. However, tell us a little bit about which place you really liked the best and in your world travels, your wonderful wanderings, and there I go again, mixing up the word. But
Sorry.
your wonderfulwanderings.com is your website. And
Yes.
in your wonderful wanderings, which has been your favorite destination?
It gets tougher the more I travel, of course, because there are so many great places. But
Sure.
I think so far there have been two that really stood out, and that was Portugal and Los Angeles. Now, I'll be brief about Portugal because I think a lot of people will be able to relate. I mean, the food is great, the weather is great, there's tons of nature. It's not an expensive country to travel through, and the people there are very friendly. But when I say Los Angeles, most people look at me funny. They go like, Los Angeles, so many cities in the States. Why would you go to that plastic Hollywood scene? The first time I traveled there was actually to go take dance classes because I'm a hip hop dancer. Well, a hobbyist, of course, but I do hip hop dancing. And there's a lot of great international dance schools in Los Angeles where you can just go, show up, and take some classes. So that's what I did twice. And of course, while I was there, I took the opportunity to get to know Los Angeles County more than the city. And what I loved about it is that you can just take your car, and in an hour you can be at the beach or in the center of the city or in the Santa Monica Mountains. There are so many different scenes that you have in a very small area. That's actually what I really liked about it, that as well as the climate. It's just
Absolutely.
never bad
I'm
weather
here.
in LA.
I'm here in California myself, and I
I'm
can
so
tell you
jealous
that
of you.
the sunshine outside my window, this is how it is most of the time.
Wow.
I was speaking to my sister-in-law yesterday, and I mentioned to her that I had not been in a rainstorm in about 7 months, and that was when I was traveling. So the weather here is always sunny and beautiful, or most of the time. Although we do deal with some horrible droughts and things like that that are kind of
Yes,
difficult for people.
that's a downside now at the moment over there, of course.
Definitely. But yeah, that's great information about Los Angeles. So, Sophie, tell us what are your plans for the rest of 2015? Do you have plans to do more traveling this year? And if so, where are you going to go? And maybe what is on your dream list of destinations to visit?
Ooh, well, I'm actually leaving for London tomorrow.
Nice.
I've been going to London for 5 or 6 years already. It was this trip I always did with my dad. We would go for 2 days and we would just go out and explore, do different things each time. But now my mom had been wanting to go to London for a very long time, so I'm taking her for 4 days. I'll be showing her around. I'm sure we'll enjoy the sun there because they're predicting better weather. And then when I come back, I'm home for a few days, and I'll be leaving for Luxembourg afterwards. I'll go on a press trip there for 3 days, and we'll visit Luxembourg City and the castles of the country. And then later this summer, I'm going to Pembrokeshire. I hope I pronounced that correctly, in Wales. I've never been to Wales, and I'm very curious because the coastline is supposed to be very beautiful. I'm also going to Sardinia in September, and Bulgaria, and then London again, and possibly Thailand. So I still have
Wow,
quite a
you've got
few
a
travels
busy
lined up.
schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think in terms of my dream destination, I don't know if I have one particular destination, but I do have one bucket list item. I don't have a bucket list, but I have one thing that I absolutely want to do someday, and that is seeing whales in the wild. So I'm thinking Canada, maybe US, but that's my
Yeah.
dream.
Absolutely. That's a great bucket list item. That's very cool. You mentioned when we were talking about Los Angeles that it's very convenient to have a car there because you
Yeah,
can visit so many different attractions and stuff. And
yeah.
we talk about that a lot on Vroom 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 because, of course, we compare car rental
Hmm.
companies and their prices, and we help people book rental cars. One of the things that I think a lot of travel bloggers do is to travel by plane, and a lot of people travel by car when they get to an airport. Have you ever been on cruise ships? And if so, or even if not, which do you prefer? Which method of travel? Do you like flying? Do you like driving? Do you like cruising on a ship?
I've never been on a cruise ship, so I can't really comment on that. Besides that, it depends a bit on the destination and on the length of the trip. Of course, when I'd be going to the States, I'd prefer taking a plane than than putting a car on the boat and going all the way there. But it depends. What I prefer doing usually is flying somewhere and then renting a car
Hmm.
at my destination so that I still have the freedom to move around as I like, but that I don't lose, say, 2 or 3 days maybe driving to where I need to be.
Absolutely. And I think that's the way a lot of people feel about travel. That it's very convenient to fly, but it's also very convenient to have the car when you get there and be able to go where you want to go. And that's one of the cool things about rental cars, as well as having your own vehicle at home. It's you're the boss. You don't have to wait for the bus. You don't have to wait for the train. So that's cool.
Exactly. And I'm a very impatient lady, so waiting isn't my favorite pastime.
Mhm. Our company is based in Brisbane, Australia. As I'm sure you know, Australia and New Zealand are very popular tourist destinations as well. Have you ever thought about going down under? And have you ever thought about visiting Australia and New Zealand?
I have, but it's not the most easiest destination for me to get
Oh,
to. It's quite a long flight and the tickets are very expensive.
hmm.
But I actually know quite a few people who are in Australia at the moment who are making use of the working holiday visa you guys provide.
Cool.
So I am thinking about visiting some of them in 2016, but
Nice.
those plans are still very, very vague.
Nice. Well, make sure you tell us, and maybe we can help you with a rental car when you get there.
I will definitely do so.
We've read in your blogs that you've rented a car in Bilbao. I hope I said it right, and
Yes.
in LA as well. Do you recommend that renting a car is something that is good for travelers who want to explore everything? Do you think public transportation is good? And I think we've covered this a little bit. But is there an advantage, or is there any advantage that you see to things like train rides and bus trips and things like that that are long distance and maybe more comfortable not to have to drive all the time? Or is a car the perfect way to travel around the country?
I think it really, in any case, always depends on your destination and what your travel plans are. For example, you mentioned Bilbao. When I traveled to the Basque Country, the idea was really to pick one or two cities as a base, but to explore the entire region. And it's not as easy to do that there by public transportation without losing a lot of time. So that's why I opted for a car there. On the other hand, if you were to go somewhere, let's say, and you decide to stay in one place for 5 days, one city, for example, and then move to another city for 5 days, but not really leaving the city, then I would probably just take a train
Sure.
because you just have one movement to make, so to say, and you don't really need the car for the flexibility. So I really think it depends on what you want to do and where you're staying, especially because it doesn't make sense to have a car when you're staying in a busy city where there are no parking lots. Then again, if you're staying somewhere remote and you want to get to all these tiny little villages, that's often something you cannot do by public transportation. Or you can, but it'll take you hours. So
Absolutely, and that's a very good point to make. A lot of travelers don't consider how difficult some of the back roads are in a lot of countries because they're used to city life. That's very
mhm.
good. So there's a category. Let's go back to talking about your travel blog, wonderfulwanderings.com. There's a category on your site called Expat Files, and you talk about expatriates who have moved from one country to another. You talk about Belgians who are living in other countries, as well as tourists who have eventually settled down in Belgium.
Yeah.
What is the most common reason for people to either move to Belgium or away from Belgium? And maybe tell us an unusual reason that you may have heard.
I'm actually planning on doing a summarizing post on this, so watch out for that in a month or so on the blog. But what I noticed so far is people who are coming to Belgium usually come here for work reasons. Sometimes because they've met a partner who is Belgian and they come to join the partner, but usually it's for work reasons. Whereas Belgians who move away because they're looking for a different kind of lifestyle, let's say. They want to take things more easy, they want to live in better weather, they want a life that's less rushed. So the reasons for coming and the reasons for going are very much different. I haven't heard a really funny story yet, but one that stood out because she was the only one that came to Belgium for that reason was a girl who was actually working as a nanny for a family. And so the family moved to Belgium and she just joined them to nanny here for the children.
Wow, and that's good. That's good in a way too, to be able to move with a family, even if it's not your own family, your flesh and blood, but your employers. That is very unusual, I think. That's a pretty cool
Yeah,
story.
it was a good opportunity for her.
Yeah. So, if your life was made into a movie, we ask most of our travel bloggers this question, and it always gets entertaining answers. If your life was made into a movie, Sophie, who would play Sophie?
Huh, actually, she's blonde, so she'd have to wear a wig, but I would say Natalie Meskes. You probably haven't heard of her because she's a Flemish actress, but she's hilarious. She's so super funny. So yeah, I would definitely go for her.
I'm going to Google her after this interview and see
You
if that would be the perfect choice for you. I believe it. I believe you're probably right if you've picked someone with that much thought.
should.
What would the movie be called? What would wonderfulwanderings.com's movie be called?
That's a difficult one. I'd go for something like huh. Forever Searching, maybe.
That's a good title. That's very, it evokes emotion when you hear that title. So that's not a bad title at all. Um, Let me ask you one more question before we let you go, and we do appreciate you taking the time to interview with us. Do you have advice for up and coming bloggers who may want to put up their own travel blog, especially coming from someone who is in a different part of the world from a lot of the other travel bloggers we've spoken to? I'm really interested in your thoughts about travel blogging, as well as what's the best advice you can give to people who want to get started in it.
Oh, there's so much advice you can give, of course, depending on what people want to do with their travel blog. But I think that question, what, is the first one you should ask yourself. Why are you getting into this? Do you want to do this just as a hobby to keep your friends and your family informed? Are you doing this from the get-go as a business? Do you want to make a living out of this? Of course, this is something that can evolve over time, but it will highly affect how you do your blogging, what strategies you'll use, what content you'll produce. So if you know this when you start, I think you have an advantage to other bloggers.
Very good points. Very good points. Well, Sofie, it has been delightful to speak with you today, and I know it's getting late where you are, but we want to let you go as well as let you have the rest of your evening to enjoy it. Thank you very much for talking to us, and we want to recommend for all of our readers on VroomVroomVroom's car rental blog to visit wonderfulwanderings.com. We will be including the links down below so you can get to those. We'll include your social media, and Sofie is making the thumbs up signs, which I always do too. If you want to tell us anything about your travel blog before we leave, let me know. Please take the time to share with our readers what you want to let them know. I give this time to you.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you today. And thank you, everybody who's been watching and who's been listening. I'm very happy that I've been able to introduce myself to you. For those who are curious about the blog and what it's about, of course, you can always go have a look at wonderfulwanderings.com. But just in brief, I focus mostly on travel within Europe and within Belgium. I create a lot of city guides that give you complete information on what you need to know about a destination. So transportation, hotels, things to do, where you should go eat, just the whole pot. Of course, if there's a destination that I haven't written about yet, you can always ask me if I know someone who did. And if there's a destination that you'd like to know even more of than what's on the blog, feel free to shoot me an email or a message through Twitter or Facebook, and I'll see what I can do to help you.
Excellent. And we will definitely include your Facebook and Twitter links as well so people can
Thank
get in touch with you. Thanks a lot, Sofie. Have a great evening.
Bye. Have a great day.